Hello and welcome to Hello by Felicia. Today we're going to look at jelly printing. So this is the gel press. If you have it, I purchased mine from Amazon. They have them in Michael's. You can make your own. Here's some of the projects I made today. These were made with acrylic paint and the gel press. Here are some of my other projects that I made. This is going to be a two-part video where I show you how to make the paper for the cards, so the face plate, and then in the next video I'll show you how I make cards. These are examples of some of my other jelly plate cards. That's one of my favorites. That's using a stencil, sorry. That's a gel plate. And that's the brand. And that's a brayer. I have a glass surface, which is easy to clean up, and some acrylic paints. The acrylic paints wipe right off of the gel plate. And it's a good idea to have some water nearby because it's easier to clean everything if it's soaked in water rather than dried on your stencils. I always have pre-cut cards and paper and envelopes nearby. And just grab whatever stencils you have. You can grab stamps, and that's actually a die cut. I didn't use it. The stamp I used there at the end, it didn't work out well. And there's some glitter. I didn't use it in this video, but you can always pour that on. Grab some paper and put your acrylic paint on. I try not to add colors that are going to turn brown, so your complementary colors right next to each other. Every once in a while I live on the edge and do it anyhow, but I should probably get 2 jelly plates, but instead of 2 jelly plates, I'm just rolling off on a scrap piece of paper on the edge. I do often use those scrap papers to make cards with, either die cut out of that and it'll match the card perfectly, or sometimes it's just a really pretty background and I end up using it on a card. So you can see, put your paper down, press it all over. That's a front, that's for an A2 card. And you pull it. Now you could have done another print on that, and the second print would be called a ghost print. So I'm going to stay in the same color family, put on another color of blue, and cover it. All those marks, all those rolls are going to be visible on your print. I actually like that. You can smooth it out, or you can take a straw and add little lines or whatnot in it. And my French fries are done baking. Anyway, there's a stencil. This is one of my very favorite stencils. It looks like paint splotches. And I'm putting this card front on. And I'm going to pull it and get a beautiful print from this. You can use your brayer here or a piece of paper. I love that print. Then you can use the negative. You could have just pulled that up and used what was on the plate underneath it. But I'm adding the orange. I want that complement. I'm going to pull that stencil. You could put another piece of paper on it, but I'm going to pull the stencil. I want the orange and blue print. I'm going to grab a piece of paper. And I actually like the back of that too. I can see that being used as a card. Pull it, and there's my print, and I love this print. And I'm pulling the ghost print. And there we go. You'll get the hang of how much paint to put on there. I'm probably using a little bit much because I'm wiping off an awful lot on my scrap paper. And if I had a second gel plate, I could just roll it onto another gel plate and have two prints. There we go, roll it out. So I tried to not make mud, but I should have just left it as is. I rolled that up at the top. It's gonna turn out a little bit of a brown color. That's okay, I still like the colors. See, I like the roll off there. I could probably use that. And then I'm gonna try using this as the stamp to add, and the stamp was not very thick. It was really small details, and it didn't actually put it on the plate. So this was a little bit of a fail. And then I've seen other people stamp off with this and make really beautiful stamp offs from this, but I was not in love with that print. It wasn't terrible, but that's one option. I've seen people with really heavy rubber stamps that do do a great job. That one, not so much. That was a thin acrylic. So I thought I would get these beautiful butterflies on here, and I didn't, but I did get some cool colors on that. I can still use that. I end up using it at the end of the video. And you can wipe this off with a baby wipe or just water. Be gentle. Don't wipe too hard, or it can ruin your plate. Yeah, I can hear people outside. I don't know if you can hear it on the video. They sound very happy. So, rolling that in there, making like a purple. I'll roll it off because I want that green and blue to mix, not the green and the red, or it'll make a brown. There we go. And I'm going to apply another stencil. I really like this stencil. This turns out really well. I'm going to add a piece of paper and pull what's through the stencil on top. There we go. I kind of rolled the paper around here so it smeared it a little bit, but I will be able to use this print. I wasn't as careful as I could have been. See, it did pull a nice little print. It wasn't too bad. And this one I actually quite love. So I'm gonna pour some of that orange. These are my old paints from, I don't know, 10 years ago. And about a third of them are still good. The orange and the red stayed good. A lot of my other ones are nearly out or they dried up. So I was really, really happy that some of them were still good. So I'm rolling this. That silver really makes a big difference. When you pull that print, you can see the shine on the camera here, on the video, but in person, it's really pretty. It's striking. So I'm gonna pull that stencil up. I'm gonna have complementary colors. Just love that. And I'm gonna put a full card that I cut and folded. And I was trying for a 1-layer card, but you can see my fingers are a little bit inky and I wasn't extra careful. I could have been a little more careful. So I put a piece of paper over it. If you do this I had a larger piece than this. This was a little silly. You can obviously see what's going to happen. But I had some magical thinking that that wasn't going to get on the back of the card. You know, if you cover it with a larger piece of paper, that would have pulled off. You would have had a one-layer card. But I get some on the back. So I'm going to flip the entire card over. And I'm just going to use the ghost print on the back. So I'm still going to use the card. Worst case scenario is I cut it in half and use that as a front on another card. So adding more paint and using the brayer here. That's a 5x7 gel plate. They do have larger plates, which I plan on getting. I'm just trying to use what I have in my stash. This year I'm going to focus on using what I have. So this was a really pretty print that I pulled here. So I'm going to lay a piece of paper on top of that stencil and pull the paint through that. Again, this is a pretty print, even on the back. I like this as well. But I love that. I thought that was gorgeous. That almost looks like a really thick stamping project. So again, I like complementary colors, and this is a way to do it, is through the stencil once you've pulled the print, and it will not turn to a mud this way. Obviously, if you added this over without the stencil, it would turn brown. So I'm going to pull that. And I like that I didn't get it all over equally. So it's going to make a nice, interesting card. So I love this pink. This is really thin paper a friend gave me, and I cut it down. And so it's going to be the faceplate of an A2 card. So here's my cat Abby. Let's just say something. So anywhere that that doesn't go all the way through, you'll see that little pink pop through, which I really love. So I'm going to use the ghost print, and you could use any color of paper that you like. I love this paper. It almost feels like drafting paper. You can actually do this on newspaper. You could do it on your, homework. You could do it on pretty much anything. Mail, old junk mail. You can just use it to print on. I'm going to try to pull another ghost print here. And there we go. Again, I could even use that back as a print. I even like the way that turned out there. I could see that being used as on a card as well. I like abstract, so I'm gonna pull it. Okay, I get a phone call in the middle here. I'm using up the white paint. I cut it out. It's a little bit thick, but still usable. So I'm using a palette knife. I'm just going to pull that through. Some of those prints were dark, and sometimes if it's too dark for me, I will add a little bit of white just for the contrast to make it interesting. Some people like a dark, or they go for a grungy look, and you can kind of buff the edges with like darker ink all the way around the faceplate. And here's my phone call. And then magically appears, interrupted the video, and then I pulled that. And again, there's that, my favorite stencil. I'm gonna add that to some of those darker prints. And this contrast, I was really happy with. Yeah. So I get 4 prints off of this. So the thicker your paint, unless you let it dry on there, it'll give you several prints. Now if you let it dry and pull it, it's going to be a much thicker print. It'll pull off most or all of the paint, which you might like to do as well. So even that stencil that had that paint there, if you wanted, you could add some more paint on a different stencil, or you could layer up more. So these cards right here are 2 layers. If you wanted, you could make 10 layers if you want. I like this print as well. I think this white is really pretty on the silver and blue. And then this is going to finish up the rest of the paint on the gel plate. And here are some of the cards that I made. If you want to stay tuned for the second video, I'm going to use those papers that we made and turn them into cards for the next video. So these are examples of things I fussy cut and some gems I put on cards. So this was about 2 hours.